What is up, guys? My name is Podsy. Over here is Prim, and we are bringing you a Wolcen mage build video. So this build is based around ferocity mostly. So we're stacking spell crit chance. You can see here that I have over 50%. And I've recently been going into toughness with a little bit of agility. We need that attack speed for auto attacking, getting our willpower back up. So let's go ahead and look at the passive skill tree. So the first direction I went was north this way. You have to spin the wheel a little bit to get it in the right position, but as I go through, you'll see what I did to get it there. So I came through here and grabbed this first. An additional 60% crit chance is amazing. And at the beginning, it doesn't really do a whole lot because you don't start out with a lot of crit hit chance. And this scales percentage-wise, so you need a good base to get good use out of this. But as you level up, put more points in ferocity, you'll be good to go. Next, I went up into this purple section here. I went straight up, got more crit hit chance with spells, as long as your willpower is above 75%. So, as a mage, you know, you want to be doing a lot of damage far away, right away. So, this works really well for just nuking down big packs of enemies right away. And when you get to bosses, I have another method for that, your single target skill. There's a way you can kind of balance your willpower, keep it all the way at the top while you're doing your single target damage. So we went to that first, grab this extra node at the side here. Spell cost reduction is huge. I went over here next and grabbed this. This will help with your willpower gain after using your skills. So after you cast your last spell, you're going to get an additional 30% damage to your normal attacks based on the element of your last attack. So that's great. Adds damage in between your spells. I also grabbed a bunch of nodes in between here as well as I worked my way up here. I think I came back here later and grabbed these. So it's not set in stone when you grab these. You can grab them as you feel. But Life Leech from spell damage is fantastic. If you take any damage, you can heal it right back up as long as you're not getting one shot. I also came up over here and grabbed max willpower and rage. This is huge. It lets you spam out your abilities more often. And then I came over here up into this purple tree and grabbed the elemental nodes. So Tempest right here is fantastic. It helps you do more elemental damage from all of your skills and has a chance to drop a meteor when you're using fire skills, 7% chance, frost lance when you're using frost skills, and chain lightning when you're using lightning skills. So we're going to be using all three of those, and this skill is perfect for an elemental damage build. And the node up here just increases the damage from all of those, or not damage, it increases the chance of them appearing. We also went over here and grabbed another elemental node. These let you go into a stance based on whatever elemental skill you used. So I can let you read that for a second, or you can pause the video and read it. I'm going to stop reading all of these because I feel like that's unnecessary. And then the extra node up here just lets you have two stacked at once instead of one, so that's huge too. I then went over here and grabbed the green extra attack speed after you crit. And we're going to be critting almost all the time, so this buff is going to be up constantly. And then right here you get 25% more, so you're getting double your attack speed with these two nodes right here when we crit, and we're going to crit all the time. So we're always going to have an additional 100% attack speed, which is fantastic. And I grabbed these couple nodes right here. And then lastly, you could do this earlier. I kind of wish I did. I think it would have been a huge boost to damage, even though I already do a ton. Is this node down here is what I'm going for right now. An additional 100% crit hit damage. Amazing. Pretty broken if you ask me. You're doubling your crit damage. Right now I do crits around 3 to 4k. So it's going to be absolutely ridiculous after we get this node. And you do get a reduced damage to your normal damage. But that's okay because we're critting almost all the time anyways, as it is. I think my crit right now, I showed you earlier, was between 50 and 60%. So we're going to be critting every other spell. Alright, so that's the passive tree for now. I'm level 51, I believe, and so I will continue to update it as I level up. But let's take a look at the skills that we're rocking here. So, the main AoE skill that we're going to be using is the Consuming Embers. This is great for trash mobs or when your anomaly is on cooldown. So the main modifiers we're going to be using are these 4 or 5. You can use any that you want. These are personal preference and what I think does the most damage or is the most helpful. So effect radius is huge on this skill. It lets you AoE better and take down larger groups of mobs quicker. We have increased crit chance, obvious on a crit build. Willpower cost lets you spam it out more without running out of willpower. Very helpful. This one is one I've been testing out. I like it because I'm not using this skill all the time, but if I just pop it off and I need like 1 or 2 small, enemy kills, I can pop this once and then just auto attack them down and I get an extra damage to my base attacks. So that's great. Kind of scales with that other node that we talked about earlier. Increased crit damage. Again, with a crit build, we want increased crit damage. Very important. Alright, so that's our right click, or at least my right click. Whatever's comfortable for you guys. I changed my skill slots to Q, W, E, R, and right click as well. Our next big AoE skill, I think this is one of the best skills in the game. It does insane damage, especially with this modifier right here. You get 2 vortexes instead of 1. Pop 1 down to the left, 1 down to the right, or you can pop 1 down, wait a second till you get a little bit further, pop it down on the next mob. There is a time frame that you can cast them in, so you can't just like press 1, wait like 5 seconds and press another one. It has to be within a couple seconds, I think. But that's huge. You're doubling your damage at the cost of 2 skill modifier points. It's insane. I think it should be a 3 skill modifier point node for sure. But this is the next one that does a huge increase to your damage, changing other damage to lightning damage. And this also procs the other elemental nodes that we were talking about earlier in the passive tree. So we have our fire on our right click, we have lightning on anomaly here, and then we're going to go to ice and Arctic Spear in a second. But I also do dislocating threads, which is increasing the area effect of the damaging vortex, so allows you to get the vortex around a lot of mobs at once. Now this one, since you have 2 vortexes, is not 100% necessary. I think I popped this because it's the first one you get, and it's very helpful while leveling until you get up to the 2 vortexes. But I might look into changing this one, maybe doing more damage. But I mean, right now it kind of instantly deletes any mobs, so the range of the circle definitely helps a lot. And then lastly, skill duration +2 here. It sits on the ground for longer, does more shocking damage over a longer period of time, so it's really good. Alright, our next damage skill is Arctic Spear. Now, this is what I use for my single target damage. You can change this to Annihilation. I tried that out a little bit, and I thought it worked pretty well. But I remember crunching the numbers at the beginning. As I was leveling, I think Arctic Spear did a little bit more damage. But I know Annihilation would be fantastic too. I kind of want to go back into that, maybe try it out. But for right now, I use Arctic Spear. Critical damage increase on this. Of course, with crit build. Willpower cost is awesome on this. Willpower cost reduction on anything I've been going for. I think it's super helpful. You don't have to worry about your willpower draining as much, and especially with that node of staying above 75%, it's very helpful. And then right here, this one is awesome, and it also kind of sucks. With this Arctic Spear, it's hard to get used to because you have a delay in when you cast an Arctic Spear and when it actually shoots. So when enemies move and you cast that Arctic Spear already, it's already going that direction and you can't change it. So with mobile targets, it's kind of hard to use this, but we have a solution for that, and I'll get to that in a second. So increased critical damage, again, fantastic. Willpower cost is down. Great skill. And then right here, we increase our damage per stack. Every Arctic Spear that enemy hits, or every Arctic Spear that hits an enemy gives us more damage than the next spear. So for bosses, you're going to be stacking this up over and over and over again. You know, as long as you can keep hitting them and keep them in one place, you're going to get stacks and stacks and stacks on your spear. So this is why it's a great single target boss skill. And then just an increase in damage. I just kind of threw that on there. I only had 1 point, so I just popped that in there as the last thing to do. And then I got this skill kind of later on in the campaign, but it was very, very helpful as a mage when you're stacking ferocity and you don't have a lot of toughness yet. So this is Liver Mortis. It's a summon, and it's very tanky. I tried this like meat shield skill with a couple of the other summons, but it didn't really work out until I got this one. And so this guy's got a lot of health. He takes aggro. He takes the aggro off of you and lets you stand back and do the nuking. So the modifiers I have on this guy is increased movement speed. He's kind of fat and slow at the beginning, so I think this is necessary for him to keep up with you and keep in front of you at the monsters. I think the summon AI is a little funky for this game, but you can kind of work around it a little bit, and it's definitely worth it to have this guy to take attention off of you. Right here, great modifier, generates more threat. Enemies are more likely to attack him instead of you. For this modifier, they didn't attack him as much and only went for him sometimes if he was like way in front of me. Also increases health, he stays alive longer, that's great. Increases damage. I think this is the last point that I had, I just put on here. But he actually does a decent amount of damage, surprisingly. You wouldn't think he does because he's just supposed to be like a meat shield, but he actually does a good amount of damage. And then right here, another fantastic modifier. If you take any damage, it goes to your summon, and that's great because he has a fuck ton of health. Generates more threat, very good for a meat shield. You want all the attention on him. Alright, lastly, this skill is definitely necessary, especially for boss fights. Bulwark of Dawn keeps you alive in many situations. You're basically invincible while this is up if you have the right modifiers on it. So increasing the duration is great. You're going to have that healing for longer. I think this is definitely a necessary node to have. Increased health regeneration per tick, very important too. I think the base health regeneration is a little low. If you get hit a couple times in a row, you might be dead before it ticks. So definitely needed both of these. Healing rate, healing regeneration per tick, and healing rate you need for sure. And the cooldown, quality of life thing, it's very, very good. 3 seconds off of 8.5 seconds is very good. No, it's 3.5 seconds off of 11. So definitely noticeable. And then the this node right here lets the AoE follow you, so it just stays on your body instead of being one AoE on the ground. This is very, very good as a mage. Lets you stay mobile and keep attacking from different angles. You're not stuck in one spot trying to heal. So this is definitely a must for this skill too. Lastly, getting buffs to resistances while you have this on is great. I think it's the best one out of any of the other single nodes. I mean, you could have it do damage, that's also nice too, but you kind of want to be out of the way of the enemies anyways. Not really what you want. I only really use this on bosses or if I'm getting surrounded, so you don't really want to be next to the boss while you have this on anyway. Alright, so that covers all of the skills. We went over the skills, we went over the passives. I guess we can talk about gear. Oh, and let's actually look at the character sheet real quick. I have been pumping everything into ferocity pretty much the whole game. I put a little bit into agility just for the extra attack speed on the auto attacks, just to get the willpower up quicker. And spell casting speed's also helpful if you're spamming out your consuming embers. And I don't know if it actually affects Arctic Spear. It might affect
I need more
how
power.
many, yeah, I guess it's how quick you can start it, but the delay doesn't get reduced. But yeah, and then lately I've been pumping a lot of stuff into toughness because my crit hit chance is so high. See, so actually, real quick, this is at 49% right now. Once it gets above 75%, we'll see it. we'll see it any day now. Alright, there we go. Up to 55.6. So it's a good chunk of extra spell critical damage. And then, so toughness, as you get to endgame, is very important. But throughout the campaign, I didn't think it was really necessary, especially if you have your liver mortis up and you have your bulwark up. You're going to be tanking pretty much everything as it is. So until endgame, you can kind of put points into it here or there if you feel squishy, but that's about it. And lastly, gear. I don't have any specific uniques for this build yet. I haven't found any. I've only found some for melee and some rings and jewelry and a bow, but none for this build yet. Gear is kind of up in the air. It's kind of whatever you want. I have been going the health route. I don't have barely any force shield because I have life leech, which is also very important for this build. If you get low, you're gonna want to leech that life back real quick, and I don't have that set up to leech into energy shield, so I want as much health as I can get and not a lot of force shield. So I have 8% spell life leech. I'm looking to go into the other nodes that give you global life leech soon, so this will be up to like I think 12 or 14 after that, and that'll be huge too. You can be even tankier. But I've been mostly looking for crit hit chance, crit hit damage, spell damage, elemental damage as far as offense goes. And then as far as defense goes, I'm looking for health and resistances, elemental resistances. But yeah, so that's the build so far. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it helped out a little bit. I highly encourage you to look into making your own build. I feel like that's, you know, part of the fun of the entire game, because after you get through the campaign, you're in endgame, it feels a lot more rewarding. But I've also been there, you know, if you don't want to sit there and look at the numbers. You know, I sat here looking at like all of the nodes for like an hour one day trying to figure out a good path, but I've also respec'd multiple times to get it where I want it. And in like Path of Exile and Diablo, I know I've looked at plenty of builds and just didn't want to sit there and look at it. So I totally understand, but I highly encourage it as well. So once again, my name's Podsy, and this is Prim, and I stream almost every day on Twitch over at twitch.tv/Podsy, P-O-D-Z-Z-Y with 2 Z's. And catch me there playing Wolcen. I'm going to try out a couple other builds, some melee builds, maybe a ranger build. So yeah, have a great day, guys. Peace.